until fairly recently. In July of 2012, Governor Quinn signed to implement a diversity program for the forest preserves, and Madam President Preckwinkle in September of 2012, and the Board of Commissioners approved the program to actually commence or have a formal minority women business program in the forest preserves. So consider this in terms of government agencies relating to procurement programs and minority women business programs to be very, very new. We didn't have that any formal goal setting. We didn't track anything. As a matter of fact, as you can imagine, the level of participation was non-existent for minority women-owned businesses in the forest preserves.
Sergio, you went mute.
I'm sorry. I don't know where I cut off, but I was saying that thanks to the vision and the effort placed by our president Preckwinkle and our general superintendent Arnold Randall, we were able to have our program, and it's been very successful ever since. So not different from any government agency as it relates to, for most part, the Forest Preserve District procures and buys all sorts of different things, anything from professional services to the maintenance of our land in the Forest Preserve District, which happens to be over 70,000 acres of land. And in that land, we have a lot of assets that needs to be maintained, rehabbed. We have visitor centers, we have comfort stations, we have garages, we have maintenance facilities, and all those different aspects require not only planning for professional services opportunities and actual construction opportunities. So that's kind of a brief background of the forest preserves and how it relates to potential opportunities for this audience.
Well, thank you for that. That is a lot of information, a lot of like square footage, like a lot. I didn't even realize that all of that was a part of the forest preserve. So like I mentioned earlier, this is going to be very interesting for me to learn about this personally. So I know that our vendors and our community is going to be really this is going to be really insightful information. So my second question to you, Sergio, I'm sure that a lot of our vendors don't fully understand where they fit when it comes to the forest preserves procurement opportunities. Can you share a little bit about the kinds of procurements that the preserve would actually buy?
So the Forest Preserve District happens to be a very, unfortunately, well-kept secret per se. Most businesses or individuals don't see the Forest Preserve District as a viable marketplace for them to sell their services or goods and services to the district, because they associate with probably what kind of service can I provide or perform, as it relates to, an open land and trees and bushes. But the reality is that, like I mentioned, we actually procure a lot of things, but at the same time, we're an organization that is considered small in comparison to other organizations like the Cook County, which is they have an annual budget in the billions of dollars, and the city of Chicago also in the tens of billions of dollars, and that's what the Forest Preserve District is a much smaller organization, but at the same time, it is a great place for a small to medium-sized business to do business, because the staff that we have is very approachable, is very helpful to any business that wants to do business with us. And the reality is, I will describe in a little bit, is that the success that we've had so far, which in my perception is way above the most government agencies in the Chicagoland area, is precisely because the success of minority businesses doing business as a prime contractor rather than just being a subcontractor on a major project. So we've been able to identify those opportunities, encourage the minority women business community to pursue these projects and these opportunities, not as just a partner, as a team member, but actually pursue them as a prime contractor. And the success of our program really relies on the willingness and ability of our minority women-owned businesses to function as prime contractors. And we've been very successful at that. We have a lot of great stories in which you'll be pretty impressed when I share those numbers with you. But yeah, we buy anything from, like I said, professional services, construction, and goods and services. We do have some challenges in which we spend a lot of money in, but obviously I'll take this opportunity to elaborate, to try to entice entrepreneurs to try to venture into these different aspects that you may find not only Forest Preserve District of Cook County, but other forest preserves in the surrounding areas, and as a great means to do business and to expand your business.
Thank you. So I know with you mentioning the subcontractor, prime contractor positioning for our vendors, and you actually mentioning how you all at the Forest Preserve actually like to see or have opportunities that are beneficial for the vendor community or vendors to bid on from a prime standpoint. I think that's something that's always interesting to our vendors, because anytime I talk to business owners, they're really interested in how to become a prime contractor, right? And so in our last month, our webinar, we spoke to a prime contractor who had kind of navigated her way from being a subcontractor to actually now operating in prime contracting positioning. And so I know you spoke a little bit about the prime contractor and subcontractor space. How long, I guess my next question to you, because you kind of answered this next question previously, but what type, so you say professional services, you say those are the types of some of the contracts that you all have. How long would you say the process is for a vendor to actually, I don't know, I guess become a regular contractor with, or a significant contractor with the Forest Preserves of Cook County?
So if I may, let me step back a little bit so that the audience understands that, it is a process. And I know we understand precisely that it could be intimidating for any business, let alone a startup business, to engage in public contracting. Public contracting is a completely different process and completely different animal than any, procurement or, buying relationship that you have in the private and the corporate sector, really. Obviously, as a government entity, our fiduciary responsibility is with the citizens of our residents of our county, and therefore our procurement process requires a lot of processes and methodologies to be able to establish who we select and award a contract to, and we try to make it as transparent and clear as possible to everybody, so that there's obviously no perception of impropriety in that process. But from point A, which is establishing your business, identifying what you want to do, getting certified as a minority-owned business, most businesses don't even know where to start. And I would like to direct you to one of the web links that I provided to you, Makiba, which is, once you're certified, then what, right? We definitely would want to identify opportunities that the government is buying to. And one of the very first things that I recommend a business, whether they're certified as minority-owned business or not, is to register as a vendor with all government agencies to know what they're buying, right? Because it's like a needle in a haystack. You don't know who's buying what. And if you don't know who's buying what, it becomes useless to be able to be ready, willing, and able. But if you don't know who's buying it and at what time, the timing is never going to be great. It's just never going to happen. And unfortunately, a lot of businesses, a lot of minority women businesses think that once they get certified, their phone is going to start ringing. People are going to call them up for an opportunity. And that's really not, that's an unrealistic expectation. Mm-hmm. So it's the proactiveness of any business to identify that opportunity. And then identifying that opportunity means who's buying what and when, and identifying and qualifying what that opportunity is. Qualifying an opportunity means learning all aspects of that purchase or that procurement. And that means, you know, do we know what the budget is? Do we know for how long it is? Do we know who's competing for that contract? You know, who can I team up with if I don't have the internal resource to satisfy the full contract? Well, all that information is actually on the website. If you go and you register as a vendor, and may I share my screen with you?
You may share. I was just getting ready to say, if you want to transition into showing them, that's perfect.
Okay, so let me share my screen, okay? Can you see that? Can you see my screen?
Not yet.
Okay, hopefully soon. It's disabled. I can't share my screen. Host disabled participant screen sharing.
All right, let's see.
But you may do that. It's the very first link that you see there, Makiba.
Okay, hold on one second. Yeah, I apologize for that. The one that says doing business and partnerships?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yeah, I can't talk to you right now. I'll have to call you back. Oh,
Yeah, somebody needs to mute themselves if they're not speaking.
Yeah, whoever that was just on your phone, we heard you say you couldn't call them back.
oh, you heard me?
Yes.
We
Okay,
all did.
Everybody heard you.
Okay, but wait, but how do I mute?
I got you. Okay, we're good. Okay, can you see
Okay.
that now?
Yes, we can. Yeah, absolutely. So this is the link where businesses can register as a vendor. It's a couple of minutes registration, has basic information. If you scroll down a little bit, Makiba, you'll be able to see where it says, keep going, register as a vendor right there. Create a vendor account. And, you know, it's just basic information. You want to click on it, it's okay. We can go back.
You don't, you want to click on it?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then, you know, it's just basic information. You create a profile. Like I said, you don't need to be a certified minority women-owned business to have access to this. And, you know, this contact information is really important because once you're able to register and have access to view and download solicitations, others will be able to see you too as a vendor that has been interested in a specific solicitation. So if you go back, Makiba, this is like, I just wanted to share briefly the screen where people would register.
Okay.
Give me one quick second, okay?
Okay.
Okay,
Maybe,
I'm interrupting. Is that the link, doing business and partnerships?
yes, ma'am.
That's the link that we would go to do all this, correct?
Yeah, yes. Okay, can people now see my screen?
I might have to stop sharing mine.
Okay, I think I was able to have access, Makiba, so if you want me.
Okay, let me stop sharing mine. There you go.
Okay, so once you register as a vendor and created that profile, then you'll be able to have access to this, which so happens to be the portal where all Cook County government agencies have posted their solicitations. And by sister agencies, I mean the Forest Preserves, Brookfield Zoo, the Botanic Garden, Health and Hospital System, the Housing Authority of Cook County, and the Land Bank. Okay, if you click on these tabs, you'll see the current postings of the solicitations that we have. And these are all hyperlinks, either by number or by name. And when you click on this box over here where it says download list, you actually are able to see who's viewed and downloaded that specific solicitation. As a means of knowing who you need to reach out to partner or who your competition may be. Okay, and we obviously have these solicitations separated by their different nature. If they're bids, if they're requests for proposal, professional services, requests for qualifications as well. These are the opportunities that currently the Forest Preserve District has. So although they may not seem a lot at this moment, I can assure you that this year and the upcoming years, we're going to have a lot of activity for a lot of different things, all aspects. Recently, there was a referendum that was approved, which significantly increased the budget for the forest preserves to operate, which will in turn will translate into a lot of contracting opportunities for the general public. So this is step number one. So registering with government agencies. And right now I just showed you an example to register with the Cook County and its forest and its sister agencies like the Forest Preserves. But in the Chicagoland area, there's about 30 different government agencies: the Water Reclamation District, Chicago Park District, the City of Chicago, and all of us have different procurements. All of us are buying things at different timings. And all of us will have a registration to find out what they're buying and when they're buying it. Okay. So once you register, you actually get automated notifications about opportunities within your industry, which is really helpful. But I always recommend vendors to not only wait for that email to come in, but a lot of times, I'd say a significant amount of times, there are opportunities that are embedded in a contract that not necessarily will be titled or earmarked for a specific service that you provide. So if we say, let's just say that you provide, a painting, you're a painting contractor, you're seldomly going to see an opportunity that says, contract for painting. You'll have to identify an opportunity that says, either rehab of a project or construction of a project, and within the scope of work with that project, there's painting opportunities that you may be suitable to provide and to be able to team up with somebody. And that's why it's important that you make a habit of visiting the websites on a very periodic basis, just to make sure that you're not missing opportunities that you may have not gotten an email notification for, but that you definitely would be able to provide, the services partially or fully of the scope of work on a specific contract. So visiting the websites is really important. And you'll see that, you may not even thought perhaps that Brookfield Zoo is a marketplace for you. And just to realize that, there's stuff, there's services here that you may be able to provide. And you now are a better prepared to be able to submit a bid. Once you open and download the solicitation, then you'll be able to see the specifics about that project. If there's a pre-bid meeting, when is the due date, if there's a question and answer period, how to submit those questions and answers, because you want to be able to clearly understand the scope of work for that contract so that you could be more successful on it. So at this moment, I also want to refer to something else that is important for your quest to be a successful bidder on a opportunity with the Cook County. So I'm going to direct you to another hyperlink that I provided to you, Makiba, that is the open data web link. This is the repository of all past Cook County contracts for the past, I'd say at least 12 to 15 years probably are here. And this is really helpful because if you sell a good and service and you have no idea how much currently the Cook County is paying for it and what were the terms of that contract, once you become acquainted with what is currently being provided, will help you better understand where you need to be the next time around that the opportunity becomes available, right? Because we often buy repetitive things. It's not always a new thing. We buy different services, every year, that we need to function and operate. A lot of times these are just 1-year contracts or one-time service contracts. And then the next time we need them, or the time that is expired, we have to go out to bid again as part of our procurement process. And then how do you be competitive, right? Well, going here is very helpful. And I'm going to direct you, for instance, to this tab right here, if you can see, and you can select or do a search using keywords to identify either a contract name, a vendor, or any type of service that you can think of, and it'll help you narrow down your search. So let's just say tires. You sell tires, you want to know what the contracts have been in the past for tires. You just click on it, you hit enter, and it'll show you the past contracts that we've had, with whom we had them for, how much was the total contract amount was for that. And as a matter of fact, we have here the whole copy of the executed contract with all the details. As part of our efforts to be, transparent to the public, we make this available to everybody so that everybody can see what the terms of that contract was. And like I said, how much was it paid, or how much was it budgeted for, and what the terms of that contract were, in an effort to try to enable new vendors, new bidders to be more successful and competitive when it comes around to submitting a bid. So, like I mentioned, you need to know who's buying what. Then you need to know how much we bought it for in the past, and who were they buying it from, as a means to know who could be your potential partners or who is your competition, right? Because you know that person or that business in the past was successful pursuing that type of work, and you want to know who that is and how it came about. Okay. In addition to that, there are other means that I recommend for any organization to become active participant in the government procurement process. One of those is that you are participant in there's a lot of government agencies or assist agencies, chambers of commerce that have frequent meetings with their membership or their different organizations. It's really helpful for you to associate with businesses that either could be your clients or can be your partners when pursuing opportunities. It requires a lot of time and effort for you to be participating in these events, but the reality is that you get a lot in return when you're active participant in these organizations, because you find out about leads, you find out about opportunities that otherwise you probably would have not, by just being on the website. Actually, we had a little pause during the pandemic in terms of a lot of our outreaching efforts, but now that we are going back to a normal business practice, you'll find out that there's so many opportunities for you to be networking and engaging with other businesses that may be a significant lead to your particular industry or your business, and find out about opportunities. Now, in addition to that, one of those resources, for instance, is to register with the Department of Procurement Services with the City of Chicago. The City of Chicago is a very significant partner for the county and the forest preserves, as they compile an annual procurement forecast. That annual procurement forecast will include 13 different government agencies that we participate in, by providing what our future purchases will be and when we'll buy. We will establish if we're buying things in the first, second, third, or fourth quarter of the year, as a means for you to be, okay, so now I know that, the forest preserves typically will buy this type of services in Q3, and it's time for me really to start to, leverage my contacts, sharpen my pencil, do my background check in terms of who I need to outreach to, and establish how much the current contract is for, so that when in Q3 comes along, I'll be better prepared to submit my bid once it's posted. And I don't want this to be a monologue, but I hope that so far this has been helpful to you. Any questions so far?
Yes, Sergio, we did have one question in the chat. They wanted to know what has been the Forest Preserve practices in hiring union contractors. Is there any specific requirements or anything of that nature for union contractors?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. And I'll take this time now to actually speak about more specifically the Forest Preserve District procurement process. So the Forest Preserve District considers contracts $25,000 and over to be subject to minority women-owned business goals. Anything under 25 and under are not subject to minority women-owned business goals. That doesn't mean that you can't participate. That absolutely means that you can. You just do not have to satisfy a goal, or a bidder does not have to satisfy a goal, most likely, in anything $25,000 and under. So having said that, one of the other common questions we get from vendors is if the Forest Preserve District has an agreement with, or with the unions. The reality is that we don't. And most government agencies don't. But the perception is that we do. And the perception that we do highly relies on the fact that a lot of government agencies, like the Forest Preserves, require two things. One, that vendors are required to pay their employees prevailing wage. And second, that they contribute to an established by the Department of Labor to an apprenticeship program. Now, in the state of Illinois, there are at least one organization that has been approved by the Department of Labor as an established apprenticeship program, which means that you don't have to be signatory to the unions to do business with the Forest Preserve. So as long as that business is contributing or has established a business relationship with that organization. And let me tell you that, we've had so many businesses initially have shied away from doing business with the government and with the Forest Preserve because they thought that that was a major requirement that we had. And once we have provided that information, that guidance, it's changed really their lives. It has changed really the a view of how they could be successful in the public sector. So there is not a requirement for the Forest Preserves, in a nutshell, to be signatory to the unions to do business with us. Now, the caveat, though, is that if a successful bidder on a contract is signatory to the union, their business requirements will make them hire only union businesses. It's not an imposition from the Forest Preserve. It's the regulations that business has to have as being signatory to the union, but it's not a requirement from the district. So I hope that makes it clear. And that has actually resulted in why a lot of small minority women-owned businesses see this as a great place where they can actually aspire to become the primes, because again, these are not multi-million, multi-year contracts that they can pursue, and they don't have to be signatory to the union. So this has been a successful place for them in terms of doing business with the district.
Thank you, Sergio. Really quickly, someone did ask in the chat who they can speak with in regards to professional services. So I posted again your contact information. Are you the best person to contact if they have a little bit more detailed questions about professional services?
Absolutely. They can, I shared my contact information. I'm happy to, direct them to, whoever needs to better respond to that question. But obviously, as I mentioned, all of our solicitations are posted, but I'm happy to, assist in any way with anybody.
Excellent. There's no more questions in the chat. I think you've answered all of them.
This has been amazing. Like super, super helpful. Super helpful. Let me go through. There was one question in here that I wanted to ask the individual what he actually or she, I can't remember who asked the question, what they were actually asking for. I think I know what they were asking. So Alpha Electrical Services asked, can you name some of the organizations that would be helpful? Alpha Electrical Services, are you asking for, when you say when you ask can some of the organizations be named, are you asking because you don't know all of the different organizations that fall within Cook County?
Yeah, hello, my name is Michael Buffington with Alpha Electrical Services. Well, specifically what I was asking was, he mentioned that it would be helpful to be part of some of the organizations that that may have knowledge of these contracts that were coming up. At least that was my understanding of what he said. Sergio, was I correct in that? And so to that point that you made, I was asking, were there specific organizations that you think that may be helpful to be a member of that could help, make the connections necessary for these contracts?
Yeah, I think we're talking about two different things, but I'll make sure to clarify that. So one is that when I meant organization, I meant by government agencies, right? There's approximately 30 government agencies in Chicago area in which we all procure all sorts of things. And for you to know who's buying what, one of the best ways to go about it is to register as a vendor with those organizations. So I know that sometimes we use terms that are confusing. One thing is registration and another is being certified. So if you're certified with Cook County or the city of Chicago, that has really very nothing to do with what I'm trying to explain right now, which is being registered as a vendor. You do not need to be a certified minority women-owned business to register as a vendor and be able to identify opportunities that are perhaps interesting for you to be pursuing. And that's where you can do it right now. It's simple, a couple of minutes per organization. Like the county will have that 6 or 7 different sister agencies. Once you register with one, you get notices from all, and some other organization may have something similar, but that's one thing. The other thing is that my suggestion is that you seek out chambers of commerce or trade organizations that are similar to what you provide as a means to develop relationships and identify leads. And my experience has been that when businesses are actively involved with an organization, they take so much more than the time that they divulge in that organization. It's just not a registration to a chamber of commerce, because that's really not going to be very fruitful, but actually being an active participant in that organization. And you'll see that you'll commonly be identifying opportunities, referred to, establishing relationships, and just growing your network, which I believe is really helpful for any business to be successful in the market. So yeah, is that helpful?
It was the part 2 of your answer that I was interested in hearing about.
Okay.
Thank you for that clarity.
My pleasure.
All right. Okay.
Thank you, Sergio. I think so. 2 things that I want to add here, Sergio. I think this was enormously helpful because I don't believe a lot of our vendor community or our small business community are even aware of how many agencies fall within Cook County, within the purview of Cook County. And so I think that you mentioning that is super helpful. With guiding our vendors and our small business owners to register with those different agencies. And then something else that you mentioned, in that all of these different agencies may have their own, registration, or they have their own procurement positioning, their different needs and all of that. And so what a lot of our business owners don't know or don't realize is that there's so much of an extended need for procurement within Cook County. It's not just Cook County, right? Like Cook County government. There's so many different nuances to Cook County government. And so I think that that is extremely important, that if you don't do, before we end, I'm gonna ask Sergio for some practical action steps that he can give you all. But one of the things that I definitely will say is the registration piece should be number 1. Because, and then following that, like really identifying what you sell. I always say this to all vendors is I have so many conversations with vendors and small businesses where they can't really give me the scope of work that they do. So when I ask them the question, you know, what's your scope of work? They know what they do. They just have a really difficult time communicating what they do. And that's going to cause a hindrance for you once you go and try to register because your NAICS codes are assigned or attached to your scope of work. And so you want to make sure that you have the correct NAICS codes or NIGP codes or whatever is used with the agency that you're registering with, and make sure that it is. We're also gonna, I plan to do a selecting the appropriate NAICS code webinar with our deputy directors here. So be on the lookout for that, because I think that that also causes a little bit of a misunderstanding or a problem with our vendors when they are trying to register or do certification. Want to make sure that you have the right NAICS codes. But I'll go ahead and let Sergio continue doing what he wants to share here before we end.
Yeah, no, you know, that's absolutely true, Makiba. You know, if you have a challenge or have a difficulty being able to clearly communicate what you provide, imagine somebody that wants to do business with you. They will not really comprehend or not understand how you guys can partner up and do business together. So it's, you know, step really number one is clearly identifying what your scope of work is, your sweet spot, the kind of services that you feel that you're most able to perform or excel in, and, you know, as a means to being able to communicate that easily to anybody that wants to perhaps be a potential client of yours. So once you're able to do that, trust me, they will be able to understand much better how you can fit into that relationship, right? So it's really key for you to be able to do that. And there are a lot of assist agencies out there. I mean, I commend Makiba for what she's doing right now, but there are a lot of organizations out there that provide consulting services for free, literally for free. We have the procurement technical assistance centers out there that their sole purpose is to help businesses, you know, be successful in the government procurement process. That's what they do. And they're excited, they're elated to find out a business that is actually interested in doing that. Because believe it or not, you know, in the universe of businesses out there, there is either, you know, a very little interest, or because of knowledge or education, know that there is the world out there that they can do business with and tap into. And it's, like I said, it could be intimidating. So procurement technical assistance centers, there are about 20 in the state of Illinois out there. And there's, you know, I used to be a director of one of those. So I know that, you know, every time we find a business that has that interest and willingness to pursue that seriously, it's a win-win for everybody, you know. So assist agencies, organizations out there that will enable you to be more successful in your process of, you know, government procurement. So I have probably.
I'm dropping in. I'm sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm going to drop in. I was looking on my computer to drop in the link to the PTEX.
Okay.
So I'm dropping that in the chat there. And don't worry, you all, we're going to, when I email you all tomorrow morning, I'm also going to attach the chat. So you'll have all of this information that we've been talking about in the chat as an attachment to the email tomorrow. Okay, Sergio, sorry.
And we'll be able to also provide you by then a list of some of the government agencies and some of the assist agencies. We used to include those in our solicitations in the past, Makiba, but, you know, because people would change and our contact information would change, we used to have actually like a director of the organization as a means of putting a contact. So we've kind of gotten away from including that detailed information, but we do have a general assist agencies list that you know, you may want to consider reaching out to and inquire about how you can get involved and how they can provide assistance to you. I'm sorry, you're muted.
Sorry. I didn't know you used to be a director. I was an associate director of PTAC.
Okay.
Small world.
It is a
Okay,
small
so
world.
here are the last two things. I always like to give our guests some practical action steps that they can implement immediately. That's the educator in me. I want to make sure that I'm just not giving our community blanket information so that when they get off of this webinar, their head is like blowing up because there's so much information. I would like to give them steps that they can take immediately that moves them towards actually getting some contract experience. So Sergio, can you provide 1 to 3 practical action steps that can get them moving in the right direction of adding the forest preserve to their portfolio of opportunity? Or since we extended this conversation and started talking a little bit more about Cook County and its sister agencies, really adding anyone to their portfolio of opportunity, what can they do to do that?
Okay, so can you still see my screen by any chance?
Yes.
Okay, so step number 1 is register as a vendor, right? Register as a vendor with, or fpdcc.com will take you to this site right here. And you select register as a vendor. You create a vendor account or profile. Once you're done with that, you'll be able to access and view solicitations posted, right? Find an opportunity that is, related to the work that you do or provide. Take a look at who's going to be part or who's expressed their interest in that solicitation itself. You can market yourself, right? To see who would want to do business with you. Once you view and download the solicitation, then you'll show up on that list. Next, most important thing that I recommend everybody, participate in pre-bid meetings. One of the main reasons we create pre-bid meetings, whether they're mandatory or not, is for the sole purposes of gathering in one small room those likely to be bidding on the project and MWBs. So most businesses don't understand the value of participating in a pre-bid meeting. And I know it takes time, money, and effort to go away from your business to participate in a pre-bid meeting. But those pre-bid meetings, out of, like I said, the universe of potential businesses interested in an opportunity, out of all those people that were listed on the download list of plan holders, those seriously contending or pursuing that opportunity will make the time and effort to go to that pre-bid meeting. And you certainly want to be at that pre-bid meeting because you want to be able to extend your business card, put a name to your face, find out who your potential partners are or your competition, and be able to establish a relationship with them. And there's no better place to do that than in a pre-bid meeting because you've narrowed down the real number of the serious pursuers or contenders on that opportunity with the universe out there that could potentially be bidding on it, but they're not actually participating. The pre-bid meeting information, you'll find it on the actual solicitation itself. If you can see my screen right now, you'll scroll down. It'll tell you, all the main information about that opportunity. When it was posted, when there's a pre-submittal or pre-bid meeting conference, the deadline for questions, and when is the due date of the proposal, right? And then it'll tell you where and when there's a pre-bid meeting. In this case that I'm showing right now, it's a Zoom meeting. But more and more often, these pre-bid meetings are becoming in person. And I think that is really helpful for somebody that's just trying to establish a relationship with other firms. So pre-bid meetings is another step that I would encourage everybody to participate in an opportunity that you think is important or that you may be finding potential partners or clients of yours. Potential clients, we can talk about an opportunity that is actually not even posted out, but that type of businesses buy the services that you provide, or they can be potential clients, you want to go there. You're welcome to be there and to extend your, qualification statement or statement of qualifications and your resume as a means of others seeing, okay, well, this business is doing this and that, and they happen to be certified as a minority woman business. Fantastic. If it's not this time around in this contract, it'll be something that I may be buying in the near future. So that's another actionable step that attendance to this workshop can do. And then most certainly, as I said, I think that open data, past contracts, web link is critical. Very, very few firms really take the time to go and find out who's buying what and what were the terms of that contract as an educational opportunity for you. I used to be a business development director, and back then this was not available on site. And it was a lot of work to try to identify, we had to go through a Freedom of Information Act, which could take weeks to just find out what the contract is, who was, the awardee, et cetera, et cetera. Now it's at your fingertips. Clicking on a button, you can find out exactly what those terms of the contracts are, and, be able to sharpen your pen for the next time that you want to pursue that opportunity.
You're not sick, but your allergies, Madison.
Uh-oh.
Allergies.
Make sure you're muted. Thank you, Sergio.
My pleasure.
This was super, super, super informative. Super. Is there anything else you want to add, or I know you've been adding a lot, but it's been so helpful. Is there anything else you want to add?
Every time I'm excited to speak to potential vendors, we're passionate about what we do. I'm passionate about what I do. This is, to me, I thank you, Makiba, and the Cook County for the opportunity, because I really do feel that, businesses, once they know that they can be active participant in public contracting, they can actually be successful. And I really do think that. And I encourage everybody to, contact me, get registered, pursue your certification with the county. And if there's a lot of us out there that were more than happy to, walk you through the process and help you be successful. So I'm happy to do that.
Thank you so much, Sergio. Jorge had asked, do you have a list of small opportunities? But I think that is found in the where you took us when you shared your screen. Or do you have a list of available? I think he means, do you have a list of small opportunities that are currently available?
Yeah, it would, the small business opportunities under the $25,000 threshold that I mentioned would also be posted on that same place. If there wasn't anything right now, it's because we may not have anything. Well, we do have stuff, but Jorge is an architect, and right now probably we don't have architectural engineering opportunities, but we have an opportunity to buy padlocks. If that's something that you are, a seller or reseller, distributor of. So.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you so much, Sergio. Again, this has been super, super informative. I really appreciate it. You all, again, if you have any questions that go beyond what we talked about today, feel free to reach out to Sergio. His information has been posted in the chat several times. I will make sure that I attach the chat notes to the email that I send out to you all tomorrow morning. So you will have all of the information that's been shared in the chat as well, if you weren't able to, write everything down in your note taking. Again, my name is Dr. Makiba Butler, and I am here with the Office of Contract Compliance. Please stay in the loop. If you have not followed our Office of Contract Compliance Eventbrite page, you might want to do that, because that is where our registration information is when we have any new webinars that come out. And I try to do at least two webinars every month. So make sure that you're following that, and then also make sure that you're just keeping in the loop with us. Upcoming, we have some capacity, financial capacity building webinars. We also have something that I'm going to be putting together with some prime contractors. So we have some things coming down the pike as well. So I'm always trying to make sure that our vendors and our small business community have what they need to be successful. So again, thank you so much for being here. We don't have any more webinars coming up now, or else I would normally tell you to make sure you register, but please keep, just stay connected to me, all right? Again, thank you so much, Sergio. Thank you.
My
Anika.
pleasure. Thank you, everybody. Good luck and hope to talk to you soon.
All right, have a wonderful day.